Hello and welcome back, adventurers. This is Captain TTRPG, and today we're talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Welcome back, adventurers. We are still looking at Monster Core 2 and some of the new creatures that we've got in this book. The dragons obviously were a big draw of the book. I love the dragons. I'm just happy to see everybody's response to the video about the dragons. Yeah, we all love dragons. It's awesome. Let's branch out a little bit, though, because we've got other types of creatures. In fact, by my count, and yes, I know I probably messed up somewhere, but I think we have a total of 101 new or potentially renamed, I didn't verify all of that, but potentially new creatures in this book. And that's a lot. That is a lot of creatures. Yes, we've got the dragons, and that does account for 24 of them, but we've got a lot of other types going on here, different families that gained a lot of different creatures. One of those is the angels. We're also going to see creatures like the archons, not so dissimilar, and some interesting plant creatures that we gained. There's going to be different things. Elementals, all sorts of interesting stuff is going to crop up here, and I'll try to group them together in ways that I think make sense. But today, it's about angels. And just like I did with the dragons, I'm going to talk about the angels we've got here. I got 4 new angels to talk about. Not going to show their stat blocks, but I want to talk about what makes them unique, some interesting angles to take on them, ways they can fit into your campaigns. And yes, these are going to have a different feel to them because, again, they are angels, right? They have a different purpose in the mythology than dragons do, generally speaking. Let's go ahead and dive in here with the Kuribu. This is a level 3 angel. Now, it's a creature. It's also a statue, or at least it can be some of the time, as you can see on screen. It's a statue. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. We'll get there. Anyway, for being level 3, it's actually, I think, fairly solid. First of all, we've got something called Sentinel's Aura. This is a 30-foot aura, and anybody who's protecting the holy area that this creature is meant to protect, as they're usually stationed around holy areas, is going to get +1 to AC, just from being within 30 feet of it. So if it's an ally to you, solid. If you're having to fight it, not so great for you. Then we've got the fact that it can ambush as a reaction. This is when it's in its statue form, which it has the option to go into for a single action to go into its statue form. So if it's in that statue form, you can use a reaction to attack you as an ambush, which is pretty cool. Then we've got Blessed Aspect. This takes 2 actions, and it takes on an animal aspect. There's 3 choices here, but each has a different ability. So you're using this 2 action to gain this immediate ability, right? Just temporarily. You've got things like AoE sonic damage, or a high damage bite, or even a charge with solid damage on the charge attack. It's actually pretty high damage, I think, for the level that it is, making this a great ally. Again, also a tough foe. It does take 1d4 rounds for this to cool down, but it's a very fun ability. Then, of course, we have the fact that it can turn into a statue. So again, this is 1 action, so it's been taking other actions on its turn. It can turn back into a statue form. Now, while it is a statue, it constantly has a 29 to deception to fool people into thinking it's actually a statue. So if you haven't seen it do anything yet, or if an enemy hasn't seen it move or take actions, there's a good chance they're going to think it's just a statue, which is going to play into some of the other abilities it has. This is a great creature to throw into a campaign that's guarding some sort of holy site against demons or other types of intruders. It could be a good base defense for your players to be able to come back to, especially early on. But it's not just for that. I think there's a horror aspect to this too. And for any Doctor Who fans out there, you'll at least have some thoughts about this. This isn't weeping by any means, but it can still be frightening because it convinces you it's a statue, and then it can attack and go back to statue form. If done right, this could be really horrifying setup when you have no idea what's going on, what's causing you all this damage while you're just trying to figure it out, and everywhere you look, it's just statues. I think there's something cool about that. And finally, of course, there's always defense just to aid the allies, right? Have these scattered around, nobody knows what they're there for. The players start taking more damage than they expect. They're in a bad place, and all of a sudden the statues step in because really they've been, holding down this location, but they haven't had to do anything yet. And yet now they see that the forces of evil are winning. They step up and they can help out the allies. So just a few different angles on something. I love that it's a statue because I think that gives us different ways to play with it. Next, we have the Tenon. So now we're up to level 9. They can detect creatures that are holding or wearing clothing within 60 feet, which makes it very unique. It's an interesting kind of aura to have, or sense really. It gets a special shawl Now, this is an item that they could even potentially drop. While they have their shawl, it does allow them their flying, and they can use it as, well, the ability to create any kind of tool they need. So very interesting angles on this shawl. It could be a plot hook as well. They can use occultism for medicine checks, not just recalling knowledge from medicine, but also things like treat wounds and such. They can just use occultism for, which means they can be good in just one skill and knock down 2, which is nice. And again, there's an interesting angle there to play with. Then we've got 5 colors dance. This is a 30-foot aura that affects allies. It increases allies' hardness, HP, and their break threshold on any stats for any kind of clothing or items that they're carrying or wearing that have, you know, hardness and breakpoints and things like that. Then they have very strong spells. Mostly support spells, but they even have some control spells like Wall of Ice and some damaging ice spells. So there's a bit of an ice angle going on along with all of the holy and support, which I think is nice. Varies it up a little bit. As far as how you might want to use a creature like this, again, we've got a lot built around support here. So it can be great, especially if, say, the players are trying to outlast some sort of assault. This could be called in by a deity to embolden their shield, help them hold out just one more round against the enemies. But there's also an interesting puzzle aspect. Maybe you're trying to get around it, not try to be noticed by creatures, but that whole clothing awareness thing kind of gives a weird angle you could take and give a different kind of puzzle to your players. That brings us to the Swamana. Ooh, got that one wrong. Level 15. This is all about creatures looking to repent, or those containing souls from previous life, soul bound, holding soul stones, things like that. This angel can sense such creatures and even teleport across great distances, changing planes of existence to end up somewhat near them. They're not going to land right next to it, but at least within a reasonable distance. They have an aura called Aura of Renunciation. This is 100 feet, so it's massive. It probably takes up most of the play area. Those who are truly penitent, this acts as a DC 35 sanctuary spell for them. And the sanctuary spell only breaks for the creatures that themselves choose to take hostile action. So normally, sanctuary makes it really hard for enemies to attack you, but as soon as you make a hostile action, then you're no longer under the effects. So this will affect everybody, but you do lose it if you take hostile actions. Then there's Shelter the Suffering, another 100-foot emanation, but this takes an action to set up, and then it can be sustained every round for a minute. All penitent and soulbound creatures get invisibility, and the whole area acts as field of life. This is a massive protection spell for creatures who are looking to not just get annihilated, right? This isn't the type of protection spell you throw on when you're planning to still assault every other creature in the area, but if you need to be able to hide or escape, this is fantastic. These creatures are really well used as plot devices. When players are, say, atoning for a past action, need to help carry souls, to the afterlife or to some place to be revived, something like that, this can be a really great way to pull something in that's not really a creature, but is more so just an object that provides these benefits to the escaping and those looking to better themselves, to turn a new leaf. This could also be a really interesting NPC to have to protect in some sort of fight. So you're trying to defend it and it's giving you occasional bonuses, but some only work really well for you when you're not actually making hostile actions. So maybe you're just looking to aid it and protect it and get it away. But there could be a protect the NPC kind of thing going on here. And finally, we have the Ninonda. This is level 17, so we are way up here. This one's all about pain. That's the Aura of Reflection. This is a 60-foot aura. Creatures in the aura, well, I should say evil creatures in the aura, those who aren't good, have to make a will save, a DC 36, which is pretty high, or become dazzled and have a -2 to the will saves from other effects from the Ninonda for a round. So keep in mind, if you're having to fight this thing, it's going to probably use something against you that's going to affect your will, which is pretty scary. Then it has Reactive Strike because this is, a more militant angel that's a fighter that's going to get up there in the fray. It has Reflect Spell. This is a reaction. When the Ninonda is targeted by a ranged spell attack, so very specific, it gets a +4 to its AC against that attack, and if the attack misses, then the attack goes back at the caster, and the casters make a new roll against their own AC, which, if it's a really high-level targeted spell attack, could be brutal. As far as its own abilities, it has Nail Barrage. This is a 20-foot emanation, forcing a reflex save against 14 d8 piercing damage, which is a lot. And it has a 1d4 cooldown, because again, that hits pretty hard. It's only a 20-foot emanation, but it's probably getting in the fray, like we talked about. And then it's got Soul Reflection. This is one action. It targets one dazzled creature. So remember, we had the Aura of Reflection. So if you are dazzled, it can target you. This requires a will save. Remember, that didn't go well. And if you fail, you are slowed 1 for a round or a minute on a critical fail. However, you do get one result better if you are a morally upstanding creature. So really, this is about going after those evil creatures. This is great as a creature bringing about reckoning for a party of murder hobos. So if you feel like your team has strayed too far from the straight and narrow, you could bring this in to teach them a lesson, if you will. This could also be brought in to smite the enemies on behalf of a deity for a player. So if you've got like a cleric tied to a deity that, you know, things are getting rough and you kind of need a Deus Ex Machina, if you feel it's earned by the way the cleric has worked with their deity, this could be a cool way to come in and smite down some evil creatures. And there you go. 4 new angels in this book. Pick it up when it comes out. Check out all the stat blocks for yourself. What do you think? Are you excited by angels and what they can bring about for your campaign? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, adventure on.